Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach and author of Food Truck 101, Beginner to Winner. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. We always see questions on our Facebook groups, so this one I thought I would do as a kind of a preemptive question. I'm going to explain how you can fail in one step, and that is to follow advice from certain Facebook groups. There's a quote that says, "Pride is pride, not because it hates being wrong, but because it loves being wrong." To hate being wrong is to change your opinion when you're proven wrong. Whereas pride, even when proven wrong, decides to go on being wrong. I'm a part of nearly every major Facebook group that there is out there. And if I'm not a part of it, my wife's a part of it. So we have pretty much all the Facebook groups covered. A lot of the groups I just read and very rarely comment. Some of them I just read and have stopped commenting completely. And every once in a while, I'll try to answer something that is just so glaringly wrong because I want people that are on that group to learn and not make some of the choices that people are saying, "Hey, do this, you'll be successful," because they flat out will not work. But what I've learned over the years, and I've been doing Facebook groups since 2016, I believe. So the last 5 years, I've been a part of a whole bunch of different groups. But what I've learned is most admins don't even read their own group. They rarely take any corrective action when someone gives illegal or immoral or just unsafe advice. And I even had one group ban me when I asked in a private message, not in the open forum. I sent the admin a private message and just asked them why they were allowing illegal information that encouraged tax fraud to remain unchallenged. And you know the response I got? They just banned me from the group. This particular group had the word academy as a part of its name for food vendors, but you can't really be an academy if you're not teaching things correct. You're not attempting to delete and or correct illegal information. The only thing that you're going to be in an academy for is failure if you allow those things to propagate on your site. They recently changed their name. They no longer have Academy in their name, and it's in favor of a more generic sounding food truck group name. So it's interesting that they don't try to teach people how to do good anymore, but they still let a whole bunch of people give all kinds of wrong information. So I started Food Truck Training, that's the name of our group, to answer all of these less professional groups that just want to talk and vent rather than teach and uplift. That's what our group is for. Recently, I got into a debate over a food manager certification and whether it's required in certain states. If you understand how the overall food code system works in the U.S., then you're going to understand what I'm getting ready to say. Food manager certification is not required, but it is strongly recommended by every single state with the exception of 2. And both of them have their own versions of a certified food manager. So all 50 states require some type of food manager certification, but you may not have to actually take the test. Some states are ambiguous as to whether the certification is required or not. So this one person quoted me an email from her inspector that said, "Certification is not required." And they just ended their comment with, "That's proof positive we don't need it in our state." Well, if you tell me what state you're in, I can actually look up the details and either support your statement as yes, you're correct, or teach you that you may not actually know everything you think you do. So this particular state, and I'll call it out for people that are from Tennessee, has this little line that is on their inspection form. Person in charge, present, demonstrates knowledge, and performs duties. Now, there is an actual definition for that, and it's been a part of the FDA food code, and that's the basis for all states' food code with the exception of California. All states have their food code based on the federal code. They may use a different year, but they all have basically a copy and paste for their state level food code is just from the federal level food code. So how does a federal level explain to demonstrate knowledge? They have about 8 or 10 lines that explain how you demonstrate knowledge. It says in general, based on risk of foodborne illness inherent to the food operation during inspections and upon request, the person in charge shall demonstrate to the regulatory authority knowledge of foodborne disease prevention, the application of hazardous analysis, critical control point principles, that's the HACCP plan, and the requirements of this code, and that will be the code from that particular state. The person in charge shall demonstrate this knowledge by compliance with this code, meaning you have to have a thorough knowledge of the code and not screw up anything during your inspection, and also by being a certified food manager who has proficiency of required information through passing a test that's a part of an accredited program, or by responding to the inspector's questions as they relate to the specific food operation. Those areas include, and then it goes on to list 17 different ways you can demonstrate you have knowledge. The FDA Food Code then goes on to explain in a little bit more clear terms how the person in charge shall demonstrate they have the knowledge. Number 1, complying with the code by having no violations of priority items during this inspection. So what that means is if your health inspector goes through and he's checking everything off and he finds a priority item that has to be marked down as being wrong on your inspection, you also lose the points for the section that's marked person in charge present demonstrates knowledge and performs duties. So now you've lost 2 points, or 2 different areas of your inspection. So that's one way you prove you have knowledge. The second way you prove you have knowledge is by being a certified food manager who has shown proficiency of required information through passing a test. That is part of an accredited program. We refer to it as ServSafe, but there's about 5 or 6 other companies that provide the exact same thing. It's called a certified food manager. So when you have an inspector show up and they start to go around and want to ding you because a priority item is wrong, and they're going to ding you because you aren't demonstrating you have knowledge, you can say, hey, I do have knowledge. Here's my certificate. Don't take the points away for that section. Only take them away for the priority section. So by taking the test, you guaranteed one thing you're going to pass on that particular inspection. And then the third way a person can demonstrate knowledge is by responding correctly to the inspector's questions. And then it goes on to list, again, 17 different questions the inspector could possibly ask you about your particular food business and the food that you sell. So I'm going to ask you, would you really want to, in the middle of lunch service, have an inspector come up, knock on your door and say, hey, I'm here to do your inspection, and can I see your food manager certificate? And you go, no, well, I don't have one. He goes, not a problem. Can you answer this question? Can you answer this question? And do you really want to be quizzed in front of your guest while you're trying to get food out your window by a health inspector, when all you had to do was take a test and say, yes, here is my certification. I know what I'm doing. Go do your inspection and leave me alone. So as I said, demonstrating knowledge is done in one of those 3 ways. So even though your state may not force you to take the test, like Florida requires you to take the test, because one of the things the health inspector will ask when he shows up is, can I see your food manager certification card? And he has to write that down on the inspection, whatever the number is on the card. Some states don't do that, but every state has what I read off earlier about the 3 different ways you show that you have knowledge in taking care of your guest with proper food handling techniques. So I'm trying to help you not have to take a pop quiz from your health inspector. And if you're worried about having to take a test that costs about $120, this probably is not going to be the business for you. Because I really don't care whether your state makes you take it or not. I'm telling you to take it. You need to know. You need to be an expert in your own field. If this is just an easy money-making technique for you, I can tell you there's a whole bunch of ways to make more money with less effort than running a food truck. So I'm going to leave you with this one little thing when you go to talk to your state. When you ask your inspector or your health department or whoever issues licenses in your state for a food establishment, please don't ask, does our state require ServSafe? Because you're most likely going to get an incomplete answer. They're going to say, nope, we don't require ServSafe. And you go, awesome, I don't have to take a test. The best question for you to ask is, where do I get the training needed to meet the knowledge demonstration requirement in our state's food code? And then they're going to tell you, take one of the tests that are approved by our state, and they'll give you a list of those approved testing sites. The point here is when you ask the correct question, you'll get the right information. ServSafe is a brand, and there are some states that will not answer yes to do you need ServSafe, even though they require you to have a food manager, because ServSafe is a brand and they're not going to endorse one brand over another. So make sure you ask the right questions, otherwise you'll be facing questions in the heat of your service from the health inspector. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you are finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please consider becoming a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button and follow the links in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. If you guys need a business coach to help your food truck business reach its full potential, check out my website. The links are in the description. If you love being around like-minded positive people, check out our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We've got a whole bunch of awesome members at every single level, from brand new, just have an idea on running a food truck, all the way up to decades-old veterans. They're all there to learn, they're all there to inspire, and they all are there to help everybody succeed. Thank you guys so much for listening. Come back tomorrow because you know I've got a whole lot more to say about the food truck industry.